Hello and welcome back to another episode of TEW 2020 WWE. We are still in June here, continuing our build up to Money in the Bank. King of the week with, as usual, currently my ace show in terms of ratings, Monday Night Raw. Show starts with the WWE Champion, Edge, making his way to the ring again for an 85 here, Edge. Just always good, to be honest. Any angle I seem to put Edge in is very good in terms of ratings, so perfect person to be WWE Champion, to be honest. And then for an 87, Edge gets the mic and he's fired up. He is ready. He demands Adam Cole. He says ever since last week he's been thinking about what Adam Cole said, the comments he made about him being washed up, how Adam Cole is better than Edge, and Edge says that he does not believe that for a single second. And he says he wants Adam Cole. He doesn't want to wait. He says Adam Cole wants to wait till Money in the Bank. Says he wants to wait till he wins that. No. Edge wants Adam Cole right now. He wants Adam Cole to come down to the ring and face him one-on-one right now for the WWE title. Edge impassioned. Edge raring to go. But it's not Adam Cole who comes out. It is instead Jeff Hardy for the 74. Jeff Hardy making his way down to the ring, and then for an 84, Jeff Hardy getting his own mic and saying to Edge that, I mean, he's not Adam Cole and he's sorry about that, but as the newest superstar here on Monday Night Raw, having left from SmackDown, he would be remiss on not coming out here, not coming to speak to the WWE Champion Edge. Obviously, Edge and Jeff Hardy had many battles in the past. Jeff Hardy pinning Edge, I do believe, to win his first WWE title at Armageddon 2008. Edge then beating Jeff Hardy to win the title back at Royal Rumble 2009. And Jeff Hardy saying that now he's here on Raw, he, much like Edge, he doesn't know how long he'll have here. And so, if he's going out, he wants to go out on top. He wants that WWE Championship one more time. Crowd going crazy. Edge saying it's good to see Jeff again, you know. They've had so many battles in the past, singles-wise, tag team-wise, with Christian and Matt Hardy respectively. But if Jeff wants a short WWE title, he's going to have to earn it, like everyone else around here. And Jeff Hardy saying that, you want me to earn it? I want to earn it. So why don't we do you versus me next week? One-on-one, no title on the line. If I beat you, I get a shot at that. The WWE Championship. The fans excited by the prospect. Edge accepting the challenge. So next week, Edge versus Jeff Hardy. If Jeff Hardy wins, he will earn a shot at the WWE Championship. Then, next up, the first match of the evening. Last week, Deonna Purrazzo won a triple threat ladder match against Sasha Banks and Bayley to earn a spot Money in the Bank. Now we'll find out who will be taking Raw's second spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match in a 6-way battle royale between Bayley, Chelsea Green, Ember Moon, Mercedes Martinez, Santana Garrett, and Sasha Banks. And elimination-wise, first of all, Santana Garrett is eliminated, followed by Mercedes Martinez, and then Chelsea Green, leaving Bayley, Ember Moon, and Sasha Banks. And Ember Moon taken out a bit, Bayley and Sasha going at it, getting towards the rope a little bit. Bayley going to take Sasha out, Sasha ducking and lifting Bayley over the rope. Bayley just about holding on as Sasha fights to get her off. Bayley kind of slipping, looks like she's going to go down. Sasha kind of leaning up and over the rope to push her off when Ember Moon sneaks up behind Sasha Banks and flips her over the rope, also knocking Bayley out as well. Ember Moon getting the win and earning herself a spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match for the 54 here. Performance-wise, Banks with the 64, Bayley with the 62, 48 for Ember, 32 for Chelsea, 26 for Mercedes, and a 22 for Santana Garrett. And Sasha looked good out there, as in the end Ember Moon gets the spot, and once again, just like last week, maybe Bayley and Sasha getting in each other's way a bit, and the distraction costing them the opportunity to get into Money in the Bank, which leads to, after the match, Bayley and Sasha having a bit of a disagreement here for the 73. over who cost who, you know. Sasha not happy, you know, saying to Bayley, why couldn't you just fall? Why couldn't you just get eliminated? Why do you have to get in the way like this all the time? The two arguing before Sasha Banks just walking away as some friction in the pairing of Bayley and Sasha Banks here. And then we have a backstage segment with the Undisputed Era. Adam Cole talking about Edge, saying that he saw Edge calling him out and how pathetic and desperate Edge sounds. Edge doesn't have to call Adam Cole out. Adam Cole will come to Edge when the time is right, when he has that briefcase in his hands and the moment comes for Adam Cole to take the WWE Championship off of him. And then he turns his attention to the other members of the Undisputed Era, saying that at Battleground in the Raw Tag Title match we came up short, but that's not going to happen at Money in the Bank, because Bobby and Roddy, they're going to bring that championship home. Kyle looking a bit surprised, maybe saying to Adam that, what do you mean, Roddy? It's Bobby and me. And Adam saying that, I think maybe Roddy takes this one, you know. We'll see how that goes. Kyle maybe a bit miffed, a bit surprised, but not going to complain, I guess, but looking unhappy at things here. The 62 before next up in the tag team match, Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak teaming up to take on The Miz and the hardcore champion Timothy Thatcher. Bryan beating Miz in the Money in the Bank qualifier, I guess, last week. Drew Gulak pinning Timothy Thatcher for the second time last week. And now the two pairs going at it in tag team action. And Timothy Thatcher and Daniel Bryan, the legal men. Timothy Thatcher getting a bit distracted by Drew Gulak on the outside before turning around into the running knee from Daniel Bryan, as Daniel Bryan gets the pinfall for the 73 here. Bryan with the 83. Bryan just incredible. Miz with the 68, 61 for Thatcher, 51 for Gulak, as Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak come out on top. And then after the match, Bryan and Gulak going up the ramp in celebration. Bryan helping Gulak a bit, Gulak leaning on Bryan, a little bit hurt from the action tonight, as a increasingly angry Timothy Thatcher looks on from the ring, as once again he is on the losing side of the action and Drew Gulak is on the winning side, the 78 here. We then go backstage for the interview with Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy saying that he's happy to be here on Raw, how SmackDown was good, but he's ready for some change, he's ready for a new challenge that didn't pan out how he would have wanted against Roman Reigns, but he's happy he was able to get his revenge on Jey Uso, because that's the person he had really had the problem with. And he says that if there's one thing all of the stuff he went through with the Bloodline taught him, it gave him that intensity, that fire again. He says he's been to war and back with Roman Reigns, and he's ready to go to war for something he really, really wants, the WWE Championship for an 84 here. Jeff, impassioned in his new brand, Raw, wanting an opportunity at the WWE title again for the first time in God knows how long. Before we cut back to the action, Dana Brooke in the ring, Deonna Purrazzo coming out with Kharma. Obviously last week, Kharma making a return, aligning with Deonna Purrazzo and her little group, taking out Asuka and attacking Dana Brooke as well. Deonna Purrazzo making her way down to the ring, saying that what Kharma did last week to Asuka was just a preview of what she will do at Money in the Bank when she takes Asuka's Women's World Championship and hands it to the rightful owner, me, the virtuoso of WWE, of professional wrestling. And if Asuka needs a little more of a preview of what's going to happen from whichever hospital bed she must be laying in after the beatdown she took, well, she will get it next up when Kharma steps in that ring with Dana Brooke. Because, I mean, when the bell rings at the start, two superstars will be standing, yeah. But come when the bell rings at the end, one will be standing and one will be laying bloodied, broken, and battered in the middle of the ring for the 60 here. And then the match itself, Kharma versus Dana Brooke, gets the 42, and it is Kharma coming out on top with the implant buster. Kharma with the 42 and the 25 from Dana Brooke. And then after the match, Kharma picking up Dana Brooke again and hitting her with another implant buster before tossing her out of the ring. The Prazo and Kharma sending a very clear message of intent as the Prazo gets ready for Money in the Bank and Kharma gets ready for her match with Asuka for the 50. And then next up we have another installment of Chad Gable's US Open Invitational for the 78. And who is going to step up? Kyle O'Reilly. Still not looking too happy after Adam Cole's comments earlier tonight. But maybe thinking here, you know what? Okay, you want Roddy and Bobby to fight for the Raw Tag titles? I'll fight for the United States title then. For the 64. And then the match itself, Chad Gable versus Kyle O'Reilly. And the two men going at it. It's a really good matchup between these two. Chad Gable going for a German suplex. Chad Gable going for a German suplex when Kyle O'Reilly kind of locks his legs backwards between Chad Gable's, pulling him down, rolling him up and picking up the victory out of nowhere. Kyle O'Reilly finding success here in the US Open Invitational like no one else has before, pinning Chad Gable with a roll up, and Kyle O'Reilly, the new United States champion for the 73 here, segment wise. 82 for Gable, 64 for Kyle O'Reilly. And the crowd in shock as Kyle O'Reilly's come out on top. Chad Gable losing in his US Open Invitational here and losing the United States title in the process. Kyle O'Reilly, the new champion. We then go backstage to an interview. Edge talking about Adam Cole, saying that Adam Cole all talk, but saying that Adam Cole is clearly all talk but no action. And you know what? That's fine. But Adam Cole needs to know that I'm ready. Okay? He wants to keep calling me an old man. He wants to think I'm delusional. Well, he will see what happens when we get in the ring, because we will get in the ring with each other someday. I know that. I know someday Adam Cole's going to step up and he thinks he's going to be the one to take me down for good, but he won't be. Because he is not the rated R superstar. He is not the ultimate opportunist. He is not WWE champion. I am. And that is for a reason. For an 87 here. And then talking about Jeff Hardy, saying that next week, going one-on-one Jeff Hardy will be good. It'll be like old times. But Jeff needs to remember what happened in those old times. Because more times than not, they ended with Edge victorious. Especially when the WWE title was on the line and they were going one-on-one in the middle of that ring. For the 87 here, Edge accepting all challenges here, it seems, for the WWE title. Before the main event, the next Money in the Bank qualifying match, qualifier I suppose from Raw, AJ Styles versus Angelo Dawkins. The winner will join Daniel Bryan and the winner of next week's singles match in 2 weeks' time on the Go Home Raw before Money in the Bank in a triple threat match, and the winner of that will qualify alongside Kevin Owens into Money in the Bank. AJ Styles versus Angelo Dawkins here, and in the end, AJ Styles managing to hit the Styles Clash onto Angelo Dawkins and pick up the victory here for the 78, as AJ Styles books his spot in the triple threat match alongside Daniel Bryan. The 85 from AJ Styles and the 60 from Angelo Dawkins. AJ, just incredible. In-ring performance-wise, at least, AJ. So very good as he books his spot in the triple threat match and gets one step closer to earning his place, to earning a place in Money in the Bank, and to that Money in the Bank briefcase and the riches and rewards that can so easily come along with it. And that is it for Monday Night Raw here, which gets the 81 overall rating, increasing our popularity in 48 regions. very happy with that. Another really, really good episode of Raw, which is overall rating wise at least so clear when it comes to NXT and SmackDown for me so far. Hopefully I can get those two up to around Raw's level, because Raw seems to be staying at the incredibly high 70s, low 80s, and that is a very, very good spot to be in. But that is it for Raw here. Now moving on to NXT. And NXT getting underway with a footage from backstage of Velveteen Dream arriving. He's stopped by Sheriff Schreiber, the interviewer, who asks what his thoughts on Aleister Black's actions last week attacking him after his main event with Andrade. And Velveteen Dream says that, I have nothing to say to you. The only person I have things to say to are Aleister. So I'm going to go find him and I'm going to ask him some questions I have face to face. For an 82 Dream, a man with business on his mind tonight, looking for Aleister Black after last week's events. Then, next up, first match of the evening, Cameron Grimes and Andrew Everett taking on the returning team in their first match together in WWE in well over 10 years. Brian Kendrick and Paul London, after Paul London made the save for Kendrick last week when Grimes and Everett were attacking him. And the match itself gets a 37. Not very good. Cameron Grimes, kind of staying out of the way, letting Everett soak up the majority of the action and the offense from Kendrick and London. And in the end, Paul London pins Everett with the shooting star press. 39 for Grimes with that limited involvement, still pretty good, still the second best, just behind Kendrick with the 44. Everett with the 36, and London in his first match back here gets the 35, which is alright. Kendrick and London showing excellent chemistry teaming together, which is what you want to see. But important part is it's Brian Kendrick and Paul London in their tag team return here, getting the victory. Before we go backstage to Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez being interviewed by Sarah Schreiber. Schreiber asking Dakota Kai about her attacking Tegan Nox last week, and Kai says that she was just sending a message to Tegan Nox. Tegan Nox has been allowed to waltz around with the NXT Women's Championship over her shoulder for too long, because Dakota Kai was focusing on other things, but now Dakota Kai only has one thing in her mind and one thing in her sights, and that is the NXT Women's title. And to get that, she has to go through Tegan Nox, which she will happily do, whilst Raquel Gonzalez is one match away from qualifying for Money in the Bank now. And after she does that, she'll have a pick of the Women's World and Women's Universal titles, and then no one will be able to question Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez when they have two women's title around each of their waists. When Tegan Nox comes storming in, attacking Dakota Kai, catching her unaware, taking her down, Raquel pulling Tegan Nox off of Dakota Kai, but before she can get any offense of her own in, Natalya from behind with a kendo stick hitting Raquel Gonzalez, taking her down. Tegan Nox and Natalya continuing the onslaught before eventually the four women are separated. Tegan Nox not taking too kindly to her attack last week, and Natalya providing some support for the champion here for a 51. And then next up we have a women's Money in the Bank qualifying match. The young athleticness of Kacy Catanzaro taking on the veteran experience of Mickie James here for a spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And it is Kacy Catanzaro with a roll up out of nowhere, catching Mickie James off guard and booking Catanzaro a spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match for a 48 here. The 50 from Kacy Catanzaro, very good from her. 42 from Mickie James, helping to that good 48 segment rating as well. Very good from these two here. And it's Kacy Catanzaro who earns her a spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And then we cut to a promo from the Cruiserweight Tag Team Champions, the Swords of Essex, Scotty Essex and Will Ospreay, talking about how they'll be making their return next week on NXT, and they'll be looking forward to seeing which tag teams are going to be stepping up for a shot at their titles for the 47 here. And then next up in another Money in the Bank qualifying match, this time for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, it's Finn Balor taking on Kalisto. And Finn Balor books his spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match with the 19-16 to give him the victory. 68 for the segment, pretty good here. 76 from Finn Balor and the 61 for Kalisto. Both men doing good here. Happy with both of those performances. But it is Finn Balor who comes out on top and earns his spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match, which is really starting to fill up now. 4 of the 6 names confirmed: Kevin Owens from Raw, Balor from NXT, and Montez Ford and Roman Reigns from SmackDown. 2 spots left. The NXT spot contested next week between Damian Priest and the winner of tonight's Triple Threat. And then on the Raw side, so far, AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan have earned a spot in that Triple Threat that's going to happen. One more spot for Triple Threat, and then the winner of that will earn their spot in Money in the Bank. So it'll be interesting to see how this fills up to completion in the end. And then we go backstage to Cameron Grimes, walking around a bit dishevelled, after the defeat earlier, but largely stayed out of it, allowed Andrew Everett to feel the brunt of the offence from Kendrick and London. And he finds Shane Thorne, tells him he was just the man he was looking for. And he says he has a business proposition for Thorne that he may be interested in here. And Thorne says, I don't have time for this, Cameron. I've got a match later that I've got to prepare for. And Grimes says, I think you're definitely going to want to hear this one. Let's walk and talk. Puts his arm around him, kind of leads him off. Thorne's looking a little annoyed, perhaps. 37, bit disappointed in the segment rating, but it's been a decent show so far, so I don't mind that too much. And then next up, following on from the backstage attack earlier tonight and last week as well, a tag team match. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez taking on the team of Tegan and Natalya. And Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez come out on top after Raquel Gonzalez pinned Natalya following the one-armed powerbomb she does. 52 for the segment, 53 from Dakota, 52 from Raquel, 45 for Tegan, 43 for Natalya. But it is the heels, Dakota and Raquel, who come out on top here, building some momentum for each of them. Raquel hopefully looking to qualify for Money in the Bank. Dakota wanting to take the NXT Women's title off Tegan Nox, who is on the losing side tonight. 52 for the segment, though, happy with that. And then we go backstage to Jake Atlas being interviewed by Sarah Schreiber. Jake Atlas next to Shawn Michaels, who's actually taken on Jake as a protege, which I wasn't expecting. I wasn't really expecting to be doing much with Jake Atlas, especially in the early stages, but I feel like I have to at least feature him on TV if Shawn Michaels is going to take him on and teach him. Jake talking about how honoured he is to be under the learning tree of such a legend like Shawn Michaels, multiple-time Hall of Famer. He says he hopes he learns a lot, and if he can even have half a successful career as Shawn Michaels did, he'll be a very, very lucky man. And Sarah begins to ask Shawn a question, but before Shawn can answer, in walks Legado, Andrade, Zelina Vega, Humberto Carrillo. Zelina asking Sarah why she's wasting her time talking to people like Jake Atlas and washed up has-beens like Shawn Michaels, who kind of chuckles at the remark, whilst she could be interviewing the head of Lucha Libre, the head of Cruiserweight Wrestling, Andrade, or a real up-and-comer in Humberto Carrillo. And Jake kind of standing up for himself, saying that, he hasn't been here for long, he hasn't had many matches, but that doesn't mean he's any less worthy. And I mean, that doesn't mean that if I got in the ring with you, pointing at Andrade, I couldn't take that away from you. Referring to the Cruiserweight title, of course. Andrade, Vega, Carrillo all kind of laughing it off before Jake Atlas storms into Andrade, shoving him, catching him off balance and pushing him to the floor. Carrillo goes to storm into Jake Atlas, but Shawn Michaels intervenes, getting in the way, kind of holding Carrillo back, while security arrives to separate the two forces for the 77. Good segment here, and it sets up a match later tonight. Andrade taking on Jake Atlas one-on-one in the main event. And then next up in the final women's Money in the Bank qualifying match qualifier, we have Kayden Carter taking on Indy Hartwell, the winner of which will take on Raquel Gonzalez next week in a Money in the Bank qualifying match. And it's Kayden Carter who comes out on top with the submission on Indy Hartwell for the 42. Kayden Carter with a 44, doing very well. Indy Hartwell with the 28, pretty good from her in her debut. It's Kayden Carter who kind of helps carry this match to the 42. And in the end, wins the qualifier here and books her spot against Raquel Gonzalez next week in a Money in the Bank qualifying match. Good for Kayden here. Before next up, we have the final men's Money in the Bank qualifying match qualifier. A triple threat match between the three superstars who have been defeated so far. Isaiah Swerve Scott, Lars Sullivan and Shane Thorne, all with another chance to get one step closer to that Money in the Bank ladder match. And Isaiah Swerve Scott and Lars Sullivan make their entrances. They're waiting for Shane Thorne. His music hits, but he doesn't come out. And then his music stops, and instead Cameron Grimes' music plays. And Cameron Grimes kind of swaggers out. Obviously, the proposition he had for Shane Thorne earlier was about giving Cameron Grimes this Money in the Bank qualifier match qualifier spot. You'd have to assume for some of that big bucks Cameron Grimes likes to brag about having for the 45 here. And then the match itself, the three men going at it, Swerve and Grimes at times, probably despite not wanting to, having to kind of work together to try and take down Lars Sullivan. And in the end, Cameron Grimes going for the cave-in on Lars Sullivan catching Cameron Grimes in mid-air. Cameron Grimes kind of shaking his head like, no, please don't. When Isaiah Swerve Scott from behind smashes Lars Sullivan with a steel chair in the back, but Lars Sullivan not much affected by it, kind of a little bit, but not much. Throwing Cameron Grimes down, turning right into Swerve and grabbing him, hitting a choke slam of sorts onto Isaiah Swerve Scott. But before he can capitalise on that, Cameron Grimes from behind with the steel chair smashes it into Lars Sullivan's knee, taking him down onto his knees before Cameron Grimes smashes him in the back, dazing Lars Sullivan, who kind of leans backwards before Cameron Grimes throws the chair away, rebounds off the rope and hits a cave-in onto Lars Sullivan before pinning Isaiah Swerve Scott for the 1, 2, 3. And it's Cameron Grimes who books his spot in the Money in the Bank qualifying match next week with Damian Priest. 51 for the segment here. Grimes with the 53, 48 from Swerve and the 37 from Sullivan. Sullivan bringing this down a little bit, but Grimes and Swerve both doing well here as Grimes gets a step closer to that Money in the Bank ladder match. He's got plenty of money in his actual bank, but now can he get the briefcase to go along with it? And then next up in the main event of this evening, Andrade taking on Jake Atlas, and Jake Atlas giving Andrade maybe a lot more of a fight than he was expecting. Andrade getting on top, but then Jake Atlas fighting back, powering up, hitting a massive clothesline on Andrade before kicking up just like Shawn Michaels, his mentor now, before setting up and hitting a super kick on Andrade. He tuned it up, very sweet chin music like from Jake Atlas before he rushes up, climbs to the top of the rope, goes for a top rope maneuver like a frog splash, but Andrade manages to roll out of the way, Atlas smashing into the ground before bouncing up as Andrade gets up as well and hits La Sombra onto Jake Atlas for the victory. Andrade, the winner here, 69 for the segment, very good, 81 for Andrade. Andrade shone in this match as it says, I'd have to agree with that. And Jake Atlas putting up a good fight as well with the 25. And then after the match, Legado start attacking Jake Atlas. Vega barking orders from the outside. Andrade and Carrillo piling in as Shawn Michaels music hits and the WWE Hall of Famer charges down, runs down to the ring, slides in. Carrillo goes to hit Shawn Michaels, who ducks Carrillo before hitting a sweet chin music to Carrillo, sending him flying over the top rope to the outside. Michaels turning to Andrade, who quickly rolls out of the ring, collects his cruiserweight title, and heads up the ramp with his Legado partners for the 58 here post-match, as Andrade comes out victorious in the match, but Shawn Michaels getting the last laugh over Legado here with that switching music on Carrillo. And then finally, it's Velveteen Dream coming out to the ring for an 85 here, and then Velveteen Dream getting a mic and calling out Aleister Black to come down here to explain himself, saying all Velveteen Dream has been trying to do is support his friend, is to cheer him on, is to try and help him in these situations where the odds are so stacked against him. With Andrade having Legado at ringside, with Cross having Scarlett, he just wants to help his friend, and Aleister Black keeps pushing him away, hitting him, attacking him, and Dream wants an explanation for the 79. Then out comes Aleister Black for the 78. Aleister Black getting a mic and saying to Dream that he thought he'd made it very clear to Dream that he doesn't need his help and he doesn't want his help. All he wants is Velveteen Dream to stay away, saying that teaming with Dream was good, being tag team champions with Dream was good, but it's over now. And Aleister Black is focused on his own career, is on the NXT Championship right now, and all Dream does is get in the way time and time again, and Black is sick of it for the 78. Before Karrion Kross's music hits, he doesn't come out. Instead, Scarlett comes out onto the stage, mic in hand, and she says she comes with a message from the NXT champion, Karrion Kross, saying that Black and Dream's silly little children's games, it's time to end them, and says that her and Kross have spoken to management, and next week it will be Aleister Black versus the Velveteen Dream, 1v1 again, and the winner will take on Karrion Kross at Money in the Bank for the NXT Championship. A little NXT TakeOver in your house throwback there for the 72, setting up the main event for next week, Black versus Dream, with a shot at the NXT Championship on the line. Can Aleister Black come out on top again like he did at TakeOver in your house, or will the Velveteen Dream get his opportunity at Kross next? Helps the show to end on a 74. Pretty happy with that. Increased the popularity in 27 regions, lost it in 21, but I mean, it's only lost popularity because Raw keeps smashing out of the park, and NXT and SmackDown are sadly failing to compete at the moment, but hopefully over time we can get SmackDown and NXT more up to Raw standards, which in today's day and age of Monday Night Raw, in real life is a statement you'd probably not expect to be hearing, but that's just how it goes in Total Extreme Wrestling, I suppose. But that is it for NXT this week, and moving on now to end the week with SmackDown. And to start SmackDown off here, out comes the Universal Champion, Big E. Last week, New Day defeating MVPs in a 6-man tag match. Big E finally getting a moment to celebrate. No one attacking him, no one sneak attacking him, could just focus on that. He comes out here for an 82, gets a mic, and starts talking. He thanks the fans, saying that, you know, he's had a week now, not having to focus on the next challenge, not focusing on what's coming up, who's coming after him next, not having to look over his shoulder and worry, just being able to celebrate with his friends, with his family, with his loved ones, and being able to soak and live in and finally fully appreciate the enormity of him being the Universal Champion. And he says he's took that time to celebrate and he's so happy with that, but now he's ready to find out who's next, to find out what is next. And so he says that tonight, later on, he's going to come out again, and he's going to invite anyone back there, backstage, to come out and fight in a multi-man match. God knows how many men, any number of men who want to enter, where the winner will face him at Money in the Bank for the Universal title. He said maybe before he won the Royal Rumble, people didn't think he had what it takes to be Universal Champion. And he knows there's probably a lot of people backstage feeling like that too. So, it's not a Royal Rumble, but tonight a big multi-man match where anyone and everyone is welcome to come and show they have what it takes and earn a spot against him for the Universal title. For an 80. Big E doing well here, inventing a new catchphrase that will likely boost his ability on the microphone, as he has a go-to line to use now, which, great. Before next up, a women's Money in the Bank qualifying match. Last week, Bianca Belair stamping her ticket into the Money in the Bank ladder match. Who is going to join her, Naomi or Toni Storm? And it's Toni Storm with the Storm Zero out of nowhere onto Naomi to pick up the victory and earn her spot in Money in the Bank for a 48. Naomi with a 55, Toni Storm with a 38. And Toni Storm getting the better of Naomi here. Naomi not happy. Looks like she's doubting herself a bit here, you know. On the losing end against Bianca Belair for the $1 million title. Now on the losing end here. And Naomi maybe getting in her head a bit here. Maybe thinking that she's going to have to make a change if she wants to get anywhere. The 48 for the segment here. Before we go backstage to Montez Ford once again walking into Paige's office saying she wanted to see him. Sat at the table once again as Roman Reigns. Montez Ford kind of rolls his eyes, asking what he's doing there. Paige asks him to sit. Montez Ford acquiesces to her request. And Paige said that she understood there might be some hostility between them, but the only thing that matters to her is that the Money in the Bank ladder match ends with a SmackDown superstar holding that briefcase. And so, to that end, she said she needs Roman Reigns and Montez Ford to sort out whatever problems they have. She needs them to figure out how to coexist, to get along, you know. She says, you guys understand, don't you? Like, in the Rumble match, maybe is someone you usually don't get along with, but sometimes you have to make those alliances, even just temporary ones, to get ahead, to get far in these matches. And she said that if it comes to it in Money in the Bank, which it most likely will in these scenarios, she needs to know that Roman Reigns and Montez Ford can coexist, that they can get along, that they can work together to take out the Raw superstars, take out the NXT superstars, and make sure that whether it's Reigns, whether it's Ford, there is a SmackDown winner to this ladder match. And she asked if they can do that, and they kind of, neither of them answered at first. And she said, well, I'm going to give you both the opportunity to work on your tag team skills tonight. Because the Dirty Dawgs, they need a tune-up, they need a warm-up as a tag team before their SmackDown tag title match next week. And so I thought, what a great opportunity for them to get their warm-up and for you two to practice working as a unit. So later on tonight, it will be Montez Ford and Roman Reigns versus Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, the Dirty Dawgs, in a tag team match. Roman Reigns kind of looking annoyed and done with it. Ford as well, but Paige says, no arguments, no ifs, ands, or buts. I need to know both of you can work together, or else maybe I'll have to rethink the superstars I'm sending in to that ladder match. For a 77 Paige with an ultimatum here for Reigns and Ford. And then next up in singles action, making her WWE return, Ariane Andrews taking on Liv Morgan here. Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott at ringside for Liv Morgan. And Liv Morgan, in the end, picks up the win here with the Liv kick. 45 for the segment, 18 for Ariane, doing okay. And Liv Morgan with the 56, carrying this match to a 45. Liv doing very well here as the Riott squad come out on top. After the match, Ruby Riott coming into the ring, and her and Liv Morgan picking up Ariane and tossing her from the ring before getting their arms raised by the ref, when suddenly the women's tag team champions, the Sky Pirates, Kairi Sane and Io Shirai's music hits, and the champs come out onto the stage in their ring gear for a 76, ready for a fight. And the two superstars storm down to the ring, and them and the Riot Squad get into a massive brawl. Io Shirai tossing Ruby Riott from the ring, Kairi Sane and Liv Morgan fighting their way out as well. Morgan and Riott kind of getting the upper hand over Sane, when out of nowhere Shirai bounces off one rope, runs across the ring, flies over the top rope and onto them with the cross body, taking all four women out. The Sky Pirates obviously not taking too kindly to the Riot Squad's attack of them last week and looking for some measure of revenge here for the 57. Before next up, as announced earlier, Montez Ford and Roman Reigns taking on the Dirty Dawgs here. And Reigns and Ford not having that tag chemistry of Dirty Dawgs. In the end, Robert Roode getting Ford into position for a glorious DDT when Reigns out of nowhere hitting a Superman punch onto Robert Roode, who has to release Ford, who as he's released, coming to his senses, jumping up and hitting a big drop kick onto Roode, spinning him around into the spear from Roman Reigns, whilst Ford climbs to the top rope and hits a frog splash on to Robert Roode before picking up the pinfall here, as the team of Ford and Reigns come out on top over SmackDown Tag Titles #1 contenders here for 73. Reigns with the 88 Reigns. Roman Reigns so good in-ring performance-wise as usual. Ford with the 64 doing pretty well here, and Roode and Ziggler with the 66 and 65 respectively. Roman Reigns really stood out here, and incredibly surprisingly, Montez Ford and Roman Reigns have great chemistry when teaming together, which is good to know, I guess, if I need an odd couple tag team in the future. But for now, in their tag team debut, Ford and Reigns come out on top, get their arm raised by the ref. Ford going up onto the turnbuckle to celebrate, getting down off the turnbuckle, turning around into the spear from Roman Reigns, who raises his arm in victorious over Montez Ford for the 78. Reigns demonstrating to Paige that him and Ford can work together, but then afterwards showing that even if they do end up having to work together, in his mind, this is how it ends. Nonetheless, with Ford on the ground and Reigns above him, victorious for the 78 here. Roman Reigns and Montez Ford doing really well. Before next up, the Women's Universal Championship is on the line. Rhea Ripley going one-on-one with Peyton Royce, giving Peyton Royce that one-on-one match she missed out on with it being changed to a triple threat at No Mercy. Obviously the triple threat favouring Royce a bit more, considering the third participant was her partner and best friend Billie Kay, but Rhea Ripley nonetheless giving her that one-on-one opportunity. And coming out on top, Rhea Ripley retaining her Women's Universal Championship for the 57 here with the Riptide. Ripley with the 60. Peyton Royce sadly off her game here, getting a 44 though, as Ripley comes out on top, doing very well here. Happy with this. And Ripley getting her arm raised by the ref, lifting up her title, when out of nowhere she is attacked by Nia Jax, making her return here. Hasn't been here, I haven't used her in a long while, but making a return and attacking Rhea Ripley, setting her sights on Rhea Ripley's title, you'd have to imagine, for a 59 here. And then a promo video playing for Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, showing them both training, showing, obviously, Johnny Gargano cleared to compete, fully ready, over that mystery illness he got and was suffering from, as DIY make their intentions clear, saying that they're ready for battle, they're ready for war, they're ready for the Dirty Dawgs next week, and they promise they are ready to retain their SmackDown Tag Team titles. For the 70 here, Gargano coming across well and improvising well throughout the segment. Before finally, as promised, Big E making his way down to the ring for the 79. He gets the mic and he asks for any superstars out backstage that want an opportunity that want the chance at a Universal title match to come out now, make their intentions clear, and book their spot in this number one contenders match, main event. And first of all, out comes the Intercontinental Champion of the World, Thaddeus Bullard, accompanied of course by Paul Heyman for an 81. Bullard saying that he's Intercontinental Champion, and whilst he has that, that is the world title around here, but he knows how much, him and Paul know how much management wants the Universal title to mean something, anything, and so he will happily take it off Big E and finally bring some prestige to it. Looking like a real star here. And then the three men are joined by Lashley and MVP. Lashley not got his sights off the Universal title just yet for the 79, making their way down to the ring. MVP saying that Big E can fluke his way to a victory against Lashley, sure, but they all know the second time that Big E can't fluke his way to the victory twice. And then they're joined by Otis for an 86. Otis really helping here. Otis, a former Universal Champion, cashing in Money in the Bank last year at, I want to say, No Mercy. Post SummerSlam, I'll just say, cashing it in to become Universal Champion. Not holding it for long before losing it to Adam Cole, but he did win it. He did hold it for about 4 to 6 weeks, which is probably longer than you thought. Than a lot of people would thought Otis would ever hold a world title, but he did it, and he's come out here to maybe try and earn another spot at the Universal title, see how he can do there. And then they're finally also joined by Cesaro for a 79. Cesaro not been seen since that United States title defeat at Backlash to Chad Gable, but making his return and setting his sights a bit higher here. Leading into tonight's main event in a fatal 4-way number one contenders match for the Universal Championship, the Intercontinental Champion Thaddeus Bullard, Bobby Lashley, Otis, and Cesaro. Paul Heyman and MVP getting into a war of words at ringside. Lashley coming out and kind of squaring up to Paul Heyman, looking like he's about to hit him when Thaddeus Bullard storms in to protect Paul Heyman, kind of moving him out of the way and getting between him and Lashley, as Lashley and Bullard squaring up, going at each other with punches, going at each other, really brawling, the two men. Lashley spearing Bullard through the barricade, taking both men out into the crowd area, leaving just Otis and Cesaro. And in the end, it's Cesaro who books his spot at Money in the Bank, earns himself an opportunity at the Universal Championship for a 73 here. Cesaro with the 73, best in-ring performance-wise. Otis sadly off his game, but gets the 43. Didn't seem to affect the segment rating that much, so I don't mind. 71 for Thaddeus Bullard and the 67 for Bobby Lashley. And the headline is, of course, Cesaro, number one contender to the Universal title. At Money in the Bank, it will be Cesaro versus Big E for the belt. And then after the match, Cesaro going out of the ring and squaring up to Big E, who had been at ringside, been on commentary throughout the match. The two men squaring up as Cesaro makes his intentions clear. He wants that Universal title, and Big E makes his clear that he wants to keep it for an 83. SmackDown doing really well here, I think. Getting a 78. Yeah, a really good episode of SmackDown. Increasing our popularity in 27 regions. I can't complain. That's enough. Really weird something to say. A raw quality episode here from the Blue brand. Hopefully it can keep up that overall rating for it, and we can get NXT up there as well. But that is it for this episode of Total Extreme Wrestling 2020 WWE. I hope that you've all enjoyed. Next week we'll be continuing the build up towards Money in the Bank. But that's all for now. Please like and subscribe for more, and thank you for watching.